Can you mute your mic for a minute, Last?
Contrary to the different. Mubs got beat. I was in the streets for real, making deals with the devil. I'm still in the streets, but I'm on another level. It's war time, ain't no stalling. I pull out patience to the falling. I was in the streets for real, making deals with the devil. I'm still in the streets, but I'm on another level. It's war time, ain't no stalling. I pull out patience to the falling. The war is spiritual before it's physical. People, you in control of yourself. The biggest kept secret is like a chess game, homie. You predict the moves. You ain't in tune with yourself, so you conflict the truth. Turn up before we burn up. Plot on the come up. You know the real enemy, but you ain't about that drama. You ain't about that life, whoa. You don't wanna let that life go. You don't wanna fight to live. You rather move fast and die slow. But I understand. I was raised in that reality. Same mentality. Struggling with the master me. But now I see that it was all by design. So my first fight was me against my mind. Now I'm on a mission. Ambition as a soldier. If I die, I go to prison. My kids gon' take over. I pull libations to the fallen, then I put in work. I'm doing this cause it's my calling. Race first. I was in the streets for real, making deals with the devil. I'm still in the streets, but I'm on another level. It's war time, ain't no stalling. I pull libations to the fallen. I was in the streets for real, making deals with the devil. I'm still in the streets, but I'm on another level. It's war time, ain't no stalling. I pull out patience to the falling. I say, Marcus Garvey, I say, Elijah Muhammad, I say, Malcolm X, I say, Martin Luther King Jr., I say, Huey P. Newton, I say, Fred Hampton, I say, Emmett Till, I say, Harriet Tubman, I say, Sojourner Truth, I say, Tupac Shakur, Phoenix Shakur, I say, my great grandfather, I say, my grandfather, I say, my little cousin, Walter Young Jr., I say, all the soldiers who died fighting this battle, I say, I say.
Yeah, cause we on another level. I pull out patience for the fallen. All right, gonna jump into it. All right, first I want to say ETM Hotep. Dua Aku, Dua Neche, Fatmu Alafie, Fatmu Iwa Pile, Majuba Iba E, Ilakba, Majuba Iba E Ilakba, Majuba E Egungun, Majuba E Iba E Egungun, Egungun Kiki Egungun. I always want to give honor and praises to the ancestors because without the ancestors, we wouldn't uh, be here. We are our ancestors. want to give honors, praise and honor to the true and living elders out there, those elders that I deem that are elders according to our African traditions, cultures. I mean, our African tradition and culture. Um, I got Brother Vasa, Niccolo Gullah on the panel. Um, Me and him gonna be doing a presentation. We're gonna tackle this presentation on fatherhood. We're gonna be coming from two different perspectives, a perspective from the African perspective and a perspective from the African American perspective, dealing with black fatherhood. Before we jump into it, bro Vasa, you know you got something and you want to put that disclaimer out there too.
My bad, y'all. I was on the other side of the kitchen. Um, the disclaimer I have today is I won't have a lot of slides available. I've been in full-fledged daddy mode all day. I'm even cooking at the moment. My intentions of trying to manifest this conversation was solely on that, to manifest a conversation centered around Black fathers. Whether it's from an African perspective or an African American perspective. I think it's a conversation that's much needed. And I think it is a subject of study that requires a lot of us, especially men, to become more active in. I'm gonna go back on mute, get the kids cooking, food cooking, and I hope you all enjoy.
All right, hold on. We gonna let me do this real quick. I'm gonna share my screen. And we gonna get it in. I know people tired of me tagging one day. I've been tagging everybody all day. I bet they like, please, brother, stop tagging me. You done did enough tagging today. We know you're working. We know you're working. uh, Kufu, Kaba. Hold on, y'all. I should have did it while the music was going. Mm. Uh, Shit, that's all. But let's get into it, man. Let me share my screen real quick. All right. Yeah. Chrome wants to share the content on your screen with the Hangout. Choose what you like to do. Okay, shoot, it's something different, man. They doing something different on here today. Let me lock it on my screen. Right there. Copy. Uh, I ain't even gonna play that right there. All right. Y'all give me one more second. One more. All right. Today, again, we's gonna be talking about Black fatherhood. Again, we're gonna be coming from two different perspectives: the African American perspective, or just in general, what is fatherhood? And African perspective. I'm gonna be coming from an African perspective. We're gonna be talking about the fatherhood, uh, dealing with the men of the Aka tribe. The men of the Aka tribe are are a tribe that's in Central Africa, I don't like to use the word pygmy, but they are the pygmy people, the Akan, the Mbutu, the Twa people. These are one of those ethnic group that lives in Central Africa. These small tribal men and women. Uh, Damn, something going on. Can y'all hear me? Before I go further, I want to make sure I'm here. I'm clear. Am I clear? Vox, am I? Can you looking through the YouTube? Can y'all hear me? Put one in the chat if y'all can hear me.
I
Yeah.
hear
Okay.
you. I hear you,
All
but
right.
I don't know how it sounds on the YouTube yet.
Yeah, they say it's they can hear. They can hear.
Right.
Oh yeah. Uh. Okay. They can hear. All
Did
right. And
somebody else
anybody?
come?
Huh?
Somebody else just come in?
I don't know if they have somebody else come in. I don't know. I know Sutek's supposed to join the panel. Supposed to join the panel. Also, this presentation is two presentation, but it's also a discussion too. So, Vasa, put that link out there, man, for anybody that want to join the panel. To discuss after these presentations or even ask questions during while we presenting. You can always chime in. So again, we're gonna put the Vasa gonna put the link in the chat. Anyone that want to join the panel can join the panel because this is a much needed discussion and presentation. But again, I'm going to do my part from an African perspective, the African fatherhood from the men of the Aka tribe. All right, I always have to put a disclaimer out here before I get started. My disclaimer is I am not a teacher, but merely a student sharing information, and that information provided for the educational purpose only. And if you are in doubt, do the research or have it verified by someone qualified. I reserve the right to change the focus of this presentation to shut down, sell, or exchange the terms of use at my own discretion. All trademark, design rights, copyrights, registered names, mottos, logos, avatars, the sigmas, and marks used or cited by this website are the property of their respective owners. I reserve the right to add information as it comes available or adapt changes, improve information as it comes available in the future. Input wanted, changes, additions, deletions, encouraged. Uh, Again, everybody that follow me know this is my saying. As I learn, we all learn. Hopefully, I have some shirts coming out pretty soon. I just got a replica made. I'm uh, going to share it pretty soon and see if people like the shirt. If they like the shirt, then I'll start printing up a lot of the. As I learn, we learn shirts, but I want to try to get two more different designs made. I got one. I'm gonna get two more different designs made and let y'all pick which one y'all would really prefer to purchase.
Kofi,
Go ahead.
before you go into your presentation, what about the let's? Oh, you put it up on the screen. Let's get this culture. You gonna make a t-shirt for that?
Yeah, I'm gonna make one for that one too, man. I'm gonna make one for them. But yeah, let's get this culture. This is a new saying. I'm trying to coin as well. Everybody know me as I learn, we all learn, which is a powerful statement that I'm going to keep. But this one too, let's get this culture, because again, a lot of us don't understand our culture or lost our culture and our traditions. So we are trying to revive and educate those on their culture and their tradition and misspell uh, the propaganda on our culture and our tradition. And again, anyone can join the panel. Feel free to join the panel. Like I say, it's going to be a presentation slash discussion. Me and
It's
Brother
also,
Vox are going to. Someone say something.
you didn't tell me it was right there though.
What's up, Sean?
You remember the movie Forrest Gump? That was
Sean, Sean, you don't unmuted your mic. All right. Is the men of the Akkad tribe the best fathers in the world? And again, the Akkad tribe of the Akkad tribe or the Akkad tribe are an ethnic group in Central Africa. And again, I'm asking, is the men of the Akar tribe the best fathers in the world? According to the data, hold on, y'all. They're going to be quiet. Sorry about that. But again,
Kofi.
according, go ahead.
Man, you
Go
ain't gonna
ahead.
let me talk, dog.
Oh, go ahead.
Man, I've been trying to say something for 15 minutes, brother.
Well,
I
go
just
ahead, my
want to,
brother. I'm
I just,
sorry, man.
I just wanted to say, man, I appreciate y'all putting in this work, man. I can't wait to hear this powerful presentation. I joined the panel for a few hot seconds, man, because I'm really waiting, and you know, but we got to hear this about fatherhood. Ooh, we packing hell.
Still on the way to his.
Yeah, go ahead. All right, but yeah, go ahead, man. I'm ready, man. Go ahead. My bad.
All right. Well, let me go back one slide again. Is the men of the Akar tribe the best fathers in the world? According to the data, uh, he begins to collect, and he is an anthropologist. I got this information, this data that was collected on the Akar tribe is from an anthropologist, which we'll talk about him. I just talk about him real brief. He's a European. He's a professor, and he's an anthropologist. Barry Himlet and his wife Bunny Himlet went into Central Africa, and they began to observe the Akar tribe as well as another tribe that was in Central Africa. And he actually started observing the tribe, which I don't want to give it away right now. What made him start to live amongst the Akar tribe was something that he seen the men do, and something that he seen the men do. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But according to the data that he began to collect, and not only Barry Himlet, this anthropologist, but this father institution from the UK, where they get these stats and so forth from. But according to the data, he begins to collect more than 2 decades ago. The Akan fathers are within reach of their infants 47% of the time. That's apparently more than the fathers in any other culture group on the planet. The Akar fathers are within the reach of their infants 47% of the time, that apparently more than the fathers in any other cultural group on the planet, which is why Fathers Direct has decided to dub the Akar the best dads in the world. And again, I said fatherhood institution, but it's the Father Direct institution. It's an organization that was formed in the UK. I'll expound on them a little bit, but you will have to go to the websites to learn more about this organization, how it was formed, who was the the co-founder, the founders of this organization, and what all it entails with this Father Direct organization. But the Father Direct has decided to dub the Akar the best dads in the world. All right, Father Direct, the Fatherhood Institution, a national information central on fatherhood. What is Father Direct? Father Direct is the leading organization in the UK promoting support for the child-father relationship. Registered charity 107. Hey, someone I got the mute.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful.
Hey, who was that?
We give praise and thanks for His mercy.
Hold on, y'all.
To the human family.
What was that?
The greatest of His mercies comes to us in the form of divine revelation.
Is that me?
We thank Him for Musa and the Torah. We thank Him for Isa or Jesus and the Gospel. We thank.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know
Hold
who
on,
that.
y'all. No, that was me. That was I was on a SoundCloud and I was playing the libation song. Sorry about that, y'all. And I was playing the libation song. And
Hey,
from one of my partners from Streetport that actually did the song for my the video I got starting for my show. And I left the SoundCloud on. I guess after that I left it on, it went to another music clip. Hold on, man. I'm sorry about that. Hell, I don't know what the hell was going on.
Yeah, they start going in on Islam, man.
Yeah, I said Nation of Islam on the then tapped into the because
oh,
yeah, sorry about that.
hey, Sutek and brother Sean came into the chat, didn't they?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
brother,
right
that's
here.
Sutek right there.
Did was they speaking? Because if they was, I couldn't hear them, and I wanted to make sure I don't need
Yeah,
to come out and come
yeah,
back.
You hear me, Vasa?
yeah.
I don't think he hear me.
Vasa, you can't hear him?
No, I can't hear anybody but you.
I don't know what's going on. I can hear him just as good,
Yeah, that's the
but
second
let me
time
get
that's
back.
happened.
Yeah, I can hear you good. I can hear you good. Yeah. But let's get back into it, man. But I had my social said, what the I said the same thing. But what is Father Direct? Father Direct is a leading organization in the UK promoting supporting for the child/father relationship registered charity 1075104. It was founded in 1999 by men and women without expertise in communication, social policies, with expertise in communication, social policies, and child development. I'm not gonna read all of this. It's a whole bunch of stuff. I got it at the end of this presentation. You can go to the website. You can see what the Father Direct or the Fatherhood Institution, what all it entails, why it was formed, what what they do. You know what I'm saying? What they specify with the fathers. What are they trying to do with the fathers? What is their motivation and etc. You can go to the website. I'm not going to read all that. A study has suggested the fathers from the Aka tribe in the northern Congo hold their children for up to 20% of the day and are far more likely to kiss and cuddle their children than the women. The Aka fathers should hold their very young infants during the day at least 5 times more than the fathers in any other culture. Aka fathers hold their very young infants during the day at least 5 times more than the fathers in any other culture. Now it says the same thing right here. It says the Aka fathers are within the reach of their infants 47% of the time. That's apparently more than the fathers in any other culture group on the planet. So they are very hands-on with their children. Okay, the Aka fathers are available to their infants at least 3 times more frequently than the fathers in any other culture. Americans and European fathers hold their infants on an average between 10 and 20 minutes per day. Lamb, etc. This is from 1987. While the Aka fathers and the statistics are different, of course, are different now. But while the Aka fathers on average hold their infants about 1 hour during the daylight hours and about 25% of the time after the sun goes down. The night fathers sleep with their mothers and infants, whereas American fathers seldom sleep with their infants. Now, the Aka mothers and fathers. I should have put the social unit in here. What entails who all lives in a household. We know mostly or majority in most of the African ethnic groups. You have a house mother. You may have the mother, the father, uh, the grandmother, the grandfather, the grandchildren, the children, uh, in a household. Now, here, like it says, in most cultures, especially the American culture, we tends to we put our children down. We put our children in strollers. We put our children in a separate room from us. Most African culture doesn't doesn't do that. They are very hands on and skin to skin um with their infants and their children, and very seldom put them down. And according to the Akar tribe, they don't actually sit their children down to do certain things until a certain age. Now, what's fascinating about the Ka is that the male and female roles is virtually interchangeable. While the women hunt and the men mind children, while the men cook, the women decides where to set up the next camp, and vice versa. It is the vice versa, says Himlet. That is really important message lies. There is a sexual division of labor in the Akar community. The women, for example, are the primary caregivers. So the women are the primary caregivers. But this is a crucial. There is a level of flexibility that virtually is unknown in our society. The Akar fathers will slip into the role usually occupied by the mother without a second thought or without more importantly, any loss of status. There is no stigma involved in the different jobs. The act roles of the fathers have is a simple one facet of their entire approach to life, and it is the approach as much as anything that we can learn from. One thing is crucial in the raising of the young is the importance placed on the physical closeness. At around 3 months, a baby is almost constant physically in contact with either one of her parents or with her or his her or he parent or with another person. There is no such thing as a cot in the Akan camp because it is unheard of for a couple to ever leave their baby lying unattached. Babies are held all the time. I'm gonna specify this again because I want to keep specifying um this because right in a few minutes when I get to a certain sentence, this is the reason why this professor and anthropologist Barry Himlet and Bunny Himlet, their wives, started to observe when they went into Central Africa the roles that the men will play. Again, the women was the primary caregivers, but the roles was interchangeable. You know, the men had no problem with cooking. The men had no problem with nourishing the baby, protecting the baby, providing the baby, being there for emotional support, holding the baby, and etc. So, but it was a certain thing that Barry Himlet seen that he wanted to learn more about the Akkad, whether learn more about the men in the Akkad tribes, the fatherhood role of this culture. So he lived amongst them for a few years. Now I must specify this point again. There is no such thing because when I get to this line and I go a little bit further, again we're going to see the cultural differences in America and the cultural differences in Africa. So there is no such thing as a cot in the Akkad account because it is unheard of for a couple to ever leave their babies lying unattached. Babies are held all the time. Akkad fathers apparently are averse even to heading down their equivalents of the pubs with the child attached to their chest or even their nipple. The Akkad tipple palm wine is often enjoyed by a group of men with their infants in their arms. So again, they are always holding their children, and there is always skin to skin contact with their babies. Uh, go to the next slide. Professor Barry Himlet, an American anthropologist who was the first person to spot the male breastfeeding among the Ka people in Central Africa. Now, this was the reason why Barry Himlet, this European anthropologist, as he was visiting there uh, for certain reasons, and as he began to observe the men in the Akar tribe, and he started to observe the men, what he would call breastfeeding. Now we'll get into what male breastfeeding is. So this sparked his interest even the roles that the men was playing and the men was doing, it was different from the society in America, the roles that the men play in their household. We know here in America the culture is the man is supposed to be the so-called provider. So he is out trying to provide. So there is less interaction with the children, and it is more interaction with the children, with the men or the fathers of the Akai tribe. So, uh, the American anthropologist, who was the first person to spot the male breast feeding among the Akai people in Central Africa, total population around 20,000. After he decided to live alongside them in order to study their way of life more closely. But by the time he noticed the babies was sometime being suckled by their fathers, it was as stunning it was a stunning revelation. Dang. Okay. Don't be confused. These dads are not breastfeeding their babies with the milk. I put this up here. They is not bread. We know that a man cannot lactate. He cannot produce milk from his breast. They simply offer a nipple that provides comfort to the babies when the mother is busy with other activities. So again, the roles of the men and the women are interchangeable. Not only does the man go out and hunt, but the woman go out and hunt because the roles are interchangeable. Their roles are the same. They are very interchangeable. The man will stay home one time, the women will stay home one time, but the men are very active with their children. Um, with their children. The Akai tribe males breastfeeding, I know some men as well as women would have a problem, and quite sure the word child abuse might come up, which points up to the interest cultural differences when you think that the Akai tribe, much of the way we raise our kids, will count as child abuse. And I said that statement because I know some people that may see this may say that that's nasty or that's disgusting or even say that's child abuse for its child to bite its nipple. The nipples are breastfeeding is for the woman and not for the man. And again, men cannot lactate, they cannot produce milk. The nipple was so forth as a provider for comfort for the child, as a um pacifier would be for the child that we may put uh, in the mouth. So again, different cultural differences. So some people may say child abuse. This is why I wrote this in this slide. So, and again, we have different cultural differences. So even with the cultural differences, the Akai people might say that we are doing child abuse amongst our children because, again, the Akai people, and not only just the Akai, most ethnic groups in Africa, they sleep with their infant, they sleep with their children. So and a lot of and they're very in contact with their children. Again, it's always a skin to skin action with their kids. They're always holding their kids, and the Kai men hold their kids more times during the day and night than any other culture. They're more involved with their children than any other culture. This is the statistic that was that the anthropologist drawn, as well as this UK organization, the Fatherhood Institution or Father Direct Institution, by studying other different cultures in fatherhood and deeming the Akai men as the best fathers in the world, as the Father Direct Institution or the Fatherhood Institution would say, according to the stats that they came up with in those days. So again, kid will be counted as child abuse by us having our kids, infants, sleeping in a different room. They may say that that's child abuse. So again, I'm just showing you the cultural differences. And we'll put the child down. Put that child down. You spoiling that child. Put that child. So it's just cultural differences. In the modern industrial society today, we follow the rabbit antelope patterns. The mother and somehow else occasionally pick up and holds the infant in order to feed it or play with it, but does not carry the infant constantly. And that's what we don't do over here. We don't carry our infants or our children constantly. The infant spends much more or most of his time during the day in a crib or a playpen. This is the culture we're talking about. We're talking about the culture where the United States culture. This is our culture now. We don't have skin to skin contact with our infants. Um, we don't hold our kids as much. The men is lesser, and some men, I'm not gonna say all men are lesser in the home, thinking it's best for them to provide. I'd rather be a provider than be there emotionally for the child, to be there in the child's need, because I'm out trying to provide for the family, to teach the child certain things. No, I'm out trying to provide for the kids. They would deem this as child abuse amongst the men of the Akar tribe. At night, the infant sleeps by itself. But in this culture, in many ethnic cultures, the infant does not sleep by itself. We don't separate. They don't separate from the infant or the children. Sleeps by itself. Usually, it's separated room from the parents. This is the culture that we have. However, we probably continue to follow our ancestral 8 monkeys model throughout. Oh, they got, and I kept that in there. 8/monkeys models throughout almost all of human history until within the last few thousand years. The study of modern hunter-gatherers showed that an infant is held almost constantly throughout the day, either by the mother or by someone else. When the mother is walking, the infant is held and carry devices such as a sling and the sling of the Kong, string bag in Nugani, and the cradle board in the northern temperature zone. I meant to put, but I know y'all have seen this everywhere. You see a mother out, you see the child is skin to skin with his mother, or skin to skin with the father. They have this certain type of bag thing or wrap around where it's tied in the front or in the back. We have those things now. I don't know what they call them now, where you put the baby in a little bag. It's like a little boot satchel. I don't know what they call that, but we've been rocking that for a long time. Most hunter gatherers, especially in mild climates, have constant skin to skin contact between the infant and his caregiver. In every known society of human hunter gatherers and higher primates, mothers and infants sleep immediately nearby, usually in the same bed or on the same mat. A cross-cultural sample of the 90 traditional human societies identified not a single one with mothers and infants sleep in separate rooms. That current Western practice is a recent invention. Let me go back. A cultural sample of 90 traditional human societies identify not a single one with mother or infant sleeping in separate rooms. That current Western practice is a recent invention responsible for the structure at putting kids in the bed that torment modern Western parents. Hewlett says, and this is the anthropologist that I was speaking about who lived amongst the Akar people for a few years, was fascinated when he wanted to study the role of the men in this tribe. Hewitt slaves in the West, the first thing fathers here could think about is the lack of time and physical contact they often have with their young kids. Somebody got something to say?
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you wanted me to mention on the skin to skin the story.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Telling you earlier. When my oldest daughter was born, she was a preemie, and she was in an incubator in ICU for well over 90 days. And when I would visit her, I would always get in trouble because I would open the incubator and either rub her back. She had IVs even in her head. They was all up and down her body. It got to the point of me getting kicked out so much that I almost just got completely banned from having visitation privileges. During that time, I got a call from the nurses, and they said we started to realize every time you touched her, she started getting stronger and stronger. I was explaining that to Kofi. I don't want to take away from your build, but Um, I do find that to be important. I would either rub her feet or I rub her back. And they, I don't want to sound pseudo or nothing, but they said they believe that's what gave her the strength. That human contact gave her that strength and that alertness to uh,
Mm-hmm.
to continue living. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm
And I
gonna
mean, and you, and the point that you're making, that is the same reason with the skin to skin contact. You know what I'm saying? Um, that's everything. Touch is the touch is very important. Sister,
I,
okay, Lisa said just said the same thing. Touch is so important, you know, and that's what they believe, that touch is very, very important.
yeah, my son's autism. Everything is about stimulus with him. Everything.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna go back to mute. I don't want to take away
Okay.
from your build and get too
Oh,
long.
you good? You good? You good? You good? The lack of time of physical contact that often, well, let me go back. Hewitt says that the West, the first thing, and he's talking about the Western society, Western culture. We know we indulge in Western culture. A lot of us still following Western culture, Western tradition, mores, byways, etc. But says in the West and have a Western perspective. A lot of us, I talk to a lot of people every day that still have that Western perspective. But in the West, the first thing fathers here could think about is the lack of time and physical contact that they often had with their young kids. There is a big scene in our society that dads can't always be around, and that you have to give up a lot of time with your child, but that you can put the right back having quality time with them instead, he says. But after living in the Akkad, I began to doubt the wisdom of that line. It seems to me that what fathers need is a lot more time with their children, and they need to hold them close a lot more than they do at the moment. They are lost. There are lots of positive contribution fathers can make to bring up their children. But we shouldn't underestimate the importance of touch and cuddle. And again, there he goes with the touch and cuddle. Again, that society, touching and cuddling children is very, very, very important. Skin to skin contact. My final words: it is important lesson that the Akar tribes have for us all, mothers as well as fathers, is about uh, how precious children are and how lucky we are to have them. I'm gonna say that again, man. These are my final words now. The important lesson that the Akar tribe have for us all, mothers as well as fathers, is about how precious children are and how lucky we are to have them in our lives. Today's societies or this culture here in the United States, we stray into believing that our kids are a burden rather than a blessing. And that's something that the car never do. And I'm speaking, I see this a lot. That's why I put this statement in here. And um Brother Vasa, we've been talking about this, and he made the very same statement. You know how some of us, uh, you know, think our kids are burdens, then blessing. We ready to send them off to school. We ready to get rid of them. We ready to send them to summer camp. We don't want no type of interaction. We just ready to get rid of them. They are burden. We a burden. That's what it looked like. But believing that our kids are a burden rather than a blessing, and that's something that the Akan never do. The Akar, I said the Akan, the Akar. I mean, to the Akar, your children are the very value of your life. The ideal of a child is as a burden would be incomprehensible. There and children are the energy, the life force of the community. So this is my part of the presentation. I always want to try to give an African perspective. I thought this was interesting about the Aka people or the Aka men and their fatherhood, and how um um back they did stats, and they deemed that these men are the best fathers in the world, according to the stats that they have. How they are always with the kids 47% more than any other culture in the world. It says any other culture in the world, how they are in contact and hold their children 20% more of any other culture in the world. They have no problem with interchanging roles with the mother, and they have no problem with lending their nipple out to their children as an aid, a comfort for them to nibble. Because again, men can't lactate and produce milk. So this is a part of my presentation.
Kofi,
I'll stop.
before you stop, just keep it on that about that child burden. Because when we was having that conversation, one of the things that bothers me particularly in this culture that we live in is I can't count how many times I've seen people catch STDs and brag about it. They'll literally laugh about getting shots or happen to go get a prescription. But the moment that they find out a baby is conceived, that's when the reality hits. And it's always, it seems to be in a negative output. I don't want to get to cussing on your platform, but y'all can just fill in the blanks of what a lot of people say when that happens. Or children, when your children conceive. And that disturbs me because we should look at procreation as a blessing, not a burden.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad that you put that on here. And yeah, that says a lot about the society that we live in, to where STDs are laughed at, but children are ridiculed, that they are looked at as burdens, that they're looked at as unwanted. You know, we'd rather talk about abortions rather than handing over a fortune to our children. You know, and that comes with that individualistic false dream that this society gives us. But I'm gonna let you keep building and go back to mute.
Oh no, I'm done, man. I'm gonna turn it over to you as my part of the presentation. Again, we're gonna put the link back in the chat, and for anybody that want to jump in, you know, and build with us on this subject matter, because this subject matter is very important. You know, about fatherhood, about Black fatherhood, as that. Let me start sharing my screen real quick. Uh, Hold on, let me start. I'm gonna lock it on you, brother Voss. I'm gonna mute my mic, and I'm gonna go back in.
Can I be heard?
Yeah, you good. You good. I can hear you. Can y'all hear brother Voss out there? Those in the chat. One, if y'all can hear him, or yes, it's some type of response. Can y'all hear brother Voss? And let me do this too. I know it's the delay. Can y'all hear brother Voss? Yeah, they can hear you. They said one. You good?
Okay. Apologize again. I walked off to check on that food. Like I said, I'm in full-fledged father mode now as we speak. Great job, by the way, Kofi. Your presentation is gonna supersede over mine. I've been busy all day and didn't get a chance to really provide what I wanted to. I wanted to build off of this article that I keep putting in the chat. Hopefully you guys will read it, that the CDC put out. I want to say the research was done in between 2006 and 2010, if I'm not mistaken, but it wasn't published until 2013. I may be wrong on those dates, but if you read into it, you're going to find a similarity to what Kofi was saying about being the best fathers of any society. Well, the Black father in America, contrary to popular belief, has been proven to be the most involved father out of all races in America and all demographics, from social status to residential fathers to split family living. So I advise everybody to check that article out. And that leads into a big part of this conversation of why I wanted to have it, is because you don't see us represented the way we should be. Um, there's a lot of factors into that. Maybe we're not pursuing sociology and psychology enough to present these types of works and studies, but we'll get into that. And like I said, y'all are going to see this message a lot over these next couple of months. The issue of racism totally masks the understanding of African American culture itself, to say nothing of the family as an instrument of culture. It has been racism primarily that has allowed the guiding assumption of the innate inferiority of African people to go almost completely unchallenged in more than 200 years of research and scientific investigation. This assumption that has resulted in the examiners of African American culture, family life, consistently offering evidence, information, theory, and analysis that focus solely on the so-called problems inherent in the African systems. And let me interject. One of the things you hear about Black fathers consistently and most predominantly is the absence of us, which leads into this conversation. And we have to understand why that conversation may go that way. Blinded by these racist assumptions, these researchers have created what is the overwhelming historical character of the field, that the African American family system was and is an organization inherently laden with problems and inadequacies. Similarly, though far more subtle and sophisticated, the new thrust toward highlighting and examining only the African American middle class, well-to-do family creates the false image that the socio-economic gap between African Americans and white Americans has closed. That African American people are no longer victims of poverty and racism, and that all African American people have benefited from the civil rights struggle. The basis of this false image is just as racist as the false image that all African American families are on welfare. True, research is slowly moving away from the unidirectional model of the relationship between parent and child and the child to parent relationships. This is important and must continue to be done in more in depth, because not enough research is done on how does the Black father's relationship with his children or child affect the entire life of the child. Very little to no research has been done on the impact of how the relationship has an impact on the father's life in its entirety. And what I mean by that is being a father, and it's mentioned down here below, so forgive me if I double talk. Being a father doesn't begin at the moment of conception. It doesn't begin at the moment of childbirth, and it doesn't end at conception or childbirth. Being a father is an experience that you have to endure your entire lifespan and the entire lifespan of that child. Most research tends to focus solely on the father to son relationship, leaving the daughters virtually unexplored. Most researchers doing family relationship studies generally collect data on fathers from mothers and or wives, neglect to control for social class, and a focus on the impact of absent fathers. When in reality, being a father doesn't begin nor end at conception or childbirth. It is an experience that is conducted over entire lifespans that alters the behaviors, emotions, and lives, not only of the child, the family, mothers, last but not least, the man who fathered them. What is the actual role of a father in the home? And let me make another disclaimer. As I see conversations about Black mothers and Black fathers through social media, I see a lot of bashing upon one of the other. We place the blame on mothers for the state of us being in our plights, or vice versa. You'll see women blaming the man, and that is not my intentions. And I wanted to make a statement. That's why you see that picture. Women provide fathers. We cannot become fathers without them. They do not provide children by themselves. So we can't just give credit to the women for being the providers of children. We have to get that out our mind. It is something that they do as an honor to us, not to belittle women, but you have to see it in that light. You have to understand your role in society and nature as a man, that you need her just as much as she needs you. The traditional view of the socialization of a child has been matricentric in the United States, limiting the role of the father to being nothing more than a conduit of providing economic resources. And as John Mercado documented, the exploration of the Black father's role in the socialization of his children is almost non-existent in the social science literature. Now here I got some definitions because I wanted to make a point. Mother and father are more than nouns, they are verbs. Now you see a similarity between the noun of father and mother, but you see a completely difference in the defining of a verb when it becomes mother and father. Father, a man in relation to his child or children. Mother, a woman in relation to her child or children. A male animal in relation to its offspring, a female animal in relation to its offspring. Father as a verb. Be the father of. Be the source or originator of. Assign the paternity of a child, responsibility for a book, idea, or action to. And what they're saying by that is, you know, the idioms that we come up with, just to give an example. James Brown is the godfather of soul. What's his name? George Lucas is the father of Star Wars. That's what they mean by that. But let's look at the verb of what it means to be a mother. Bring up a child with care and affection. Look after someone kindly, protectively, sometimes excessively so. To give birth. Notice it doesn't say anything like that about being a father. And I think that's totally wrong in this society that we live in, and it needs to be reevaluated. Now, one thing that I did find in my research is when it comes to decision making in Black families appear to be more egalitarian than any other type in America. Meaning that we look at it as equal roles. It's not a mother's job, it's not a father's job to maintain the children. We look at it as it's something that we both must do.
And we just seen that in my presentation dealing with the Akaf people. They are our culture is very interchangeable. The man doesn't mind taking care of the child, so it is the is an equal role.
Now, when typically thought of, especially in the United States, living underneath a capitalistic system, the paradigm of thought has got to shift, because still to this day, the number one ideological view of a father is to be a provider. If you was to ask what is the role of a father, if you was to say what is the purpose of a father, to most people, the first thing you are going to hear is be a provider. Me personally, I take a totally different approach towards that. I think the number one job of a man, let alone of a father, is to be the protector. Now, being a protector allows you to do things like provide. You can provide nutrients. You can provide nurture. You can provide shelter as a form of protection. That all those things come into it. But let's just look at what the definitions of these things are, and you tell me what suits being a father more. Provider, a person or a thing that provides something. A breadwinner. Protector, a person or thing that protects someone or something. And this is where I get into a conversation with people in private. I don't try to do it too often because I don't think most are ready for it. I truly believe in my heart that men are more emotional than women, if not equal to. And because of our emotions and balancing those emotions, we've learned naturally to be protectors. It is our emotions that allow us to know what's valuable enough to protect on this planet. It is our emotions that tell us we must protect our woman, our mothers, our children, our fathers, our elders, and even our very selves. And that comes from emotions. That does not come from a wallet. That comes from your emotions and your will to protect, your care to protect. What is the actual role of a father in the home? Black fathers socialize their children differently than white fathers, and the impact of that process may lead to the development of high competence in girls. This research was based off observing the difference between Black fathers, between the differences Black fathers place on gender. While boys are expected to behave in a mature fashion, Black fathers seem to encourage independent behavior in their sons. Black fathers did not encourage individuality and independence or provide enrichment of their daughters' environment. Black fathers did not promote conformity in their daughters and were authoritarian in their practices. By white social standards, many said that needs to change. But when they did the research on this, they found out that that was a benefit to the children by taking that approach. And it would be hard pressed for me to give an example of that, because you have to understand, due to the way we live, due to us not being the dominant culture, we do have to render our children different. So when we raising our little girls to be non-conformative, they look at that as an insult and that we're doing it wrong. But what we are telling them, but if you read into it, do not conform to the ways of society. We are placing value in our children. We're placing value in our boys. We might do it a little different when it comes to girls, because we understand the importance of them, how valuable they are and how precious they are. The predominant relationship and interaction pattern of Black fathers appears to be a nurturing, warm, and loving towards their children, equally towards their sons and daughters. Although there has been no clear connection of how this affects the child's self-esteem when facing society, some researchers have stated that it is more affected by the way the children see them interact with each other, the mother and the father, that the father should be more nurturing towards the mother and supportive, regardless if the family is a residential family or a non-residential family. Sociologists and psychologists research in the 70s found that they have overemphasized the provider role as a parenting style and focusing on the lack of parental participation, involvement, and expressiveness in white, middle, and upper class systems. And that goes into what Kofi was saying, that while they're worrying about just being providers and being breadwinners, they didn't take any time to consider what the father's role and has an impact on being more interactive with the children. Kazavnev found that the greater economic security with middle-class Black fathers, the more active the father became in the child rearing function. With establishing the fact that the provider role has been overemphasized, John Mercado stated, "It is safe to assume that African fathers play many roles in the family: provider, decision maker, nurturer, husband, and father." Excuse me, y'all, I got my daughter talking to me. Let me finish this last slide, and I'm gonna take a quick break. And some of y'all have heard this before, but I ask you to just replace when I say king with father. And before I go any further, maybe Kofi, after this, you can build on it while I make these kids play, about Asar Imhotep putting a connection to it in his Nasit Biti book.
Which the connection with King Elder? Yeah. I'm gonna get the book, and then I'm gonna we got
It starts at page, I want to say 150, 151. If you got to look it up.
Let me get my book, and then we got two brothers. We got I Am So on here, and I'm gonna let them go in a little bit, and brother, I don't want to pronounce his name wrong, but we'll let both of them speak in a minute. But go ahead, I'm gonna get my book.
Okay, this would be if I'm not mistaken, y'all, this would be the last slide I read for the moment. A king is merely the slave of great responsibilities, but the man who handles his responsibilities is labeled a great king. We have romanticized the idea a king is to be worshipped and should be showered with gifts. That is no king or even a man for that matter. A king is the one who gives his last for his people and praises them. He gives them strength and never enforces the idea that he holds all power. That is egotistical and childish and will be the downfall of his kingdom. A king is humble and knows without his people there is no pride. A king knows that if he forces any to bow before his feet, he will not hear the whispers to destroy him. So he bows before his people, and they freely cheer words that honor him. A king seeks wisdom of life, and a fool will seek chaos and destruction. A king forces no one to follow him, instead protects their path. A king does not force you to be anything, instead teaches you that you can be anything. And I will ask you, what do you plan to be? Hopefully a servant of the people and labeled a great king. And once again, I ask you to just replace that word king and father. Replace kingdom with family. And you will see why once upon a time and why we are still trying our best to consider each other as kings, because we know the importance of life. It has nothing to do with being showered with gifts. It has nothing to do with the glitz and glamour, because real fathers and real kings know all the glitz and glamour is held through the eyes of his people and his family. I'm gonna go to mute for a minute. Well, I'm just
I'm
gonna back.
trying to. I had it marked in here at one point of time, man. And I
And
don't know.
I put that up because we do have images of strong African American fathers out there, both providers, protectors, teachers, emotionally stable. And, I think we're getting away from that conversation. I hope that we can build into that, some of the problems that we face. But yeah, let me back away for a moment because my baby girl is really, really bothering me about her stomach.
Okay, what page you said that was on, man? Cause I got in my book and I
Start
got
from,
my little things up here, and I had it marked at one time, but my little sticky thing must have come off there
I,
on that section.
I know that chapter starts at page 150, Kofi.
Okay, I'm on one. For let me see. Look at this. Miniature child. And see, I used it too not too long ago in my elders presentation and my article, but that's how I know I had it marked. But hold on, let me see something here. I want to find that because I really want to go into that. Hold on, King rule only. Okay, hold on. Hold on. Let me see. No, this not it. King rules only to protect for the mother. I don't know, man. I'll find it, man. But we got brother um brother I am Sosa and brother what's the name, man?
Bakari.
Y'all my brother who?
Bakari.
Bakari, brother Bakari. I don't be want to tell. I'll turn your name up, brother. But peace to you, man. Peace to join the chat, man. And we got brother I am. So you can add on, man, if you want to add on, man. We be trying to get people to to add on to the bill.
Well, for me, I'm gonna be honest. Peace. Thank you for putting it in the chat and letting me come on. First of all, and,
No problem.
I appreciate that. Well, I don't know about that book you was reading, but I know you was talking about fathers, and the man on the middle of that avatar, that is my father. And that gave me, I feel I had me a couple of minutes where I could call and brag on how great a father I grew up with, who
Mm-hmm.
didn't mind swapping roles, who held me and taught me to be a man. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
My father passed when I was 14. He was 66. I was 14. That is my hero. That's absolutely my hero. But the little town I'm from in Mississippi is basically a little small village. I don't even call it a town. It's really a village. We got about 600 people, 700 people.
Where you from, man? I'm from Mississippi, man. And I'm in
I'm from the Delta. I'm up from around by. You heard of Greenville?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah. Up
from
there in
up
the
in
Delta,
that
yeah,
area.
Greenville.
I'm about
Okay.
I'm in that area. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually right now in Brookhaven, Mississippi, man. I know you heard of Jackson,
Yeah,
Mississippi.
Jackson, Brookhaven. I heard of
Yeah.
Brookhaven. I was born and
Okay,
raised in
okay,
Mississippi. That's where I'm from.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think Greenville might be like 2 or 3 hours from me. But
Yeah.
yeah, I know what.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I ain't mean to cut you on your bill, man. You when
No,
you
you
mentioned
good.
Mississippi, I just had to ask, man. Shoot, I be trying to connect with some people, man, that's here in Mississippi because most of the people I build with is 10 and 7 and 8 hours away, 12 hours away. So, but
Yeah.
go ahead, man.
All right. No problem. But yeah, like at my town, I actually saw other men become fathers to young men that didn't have fathers. You understand? So this thing, man, when you was doing this and I saw it and I was watching it, I literally just it just popped up to me about 15 minutes ago, right before I came on, and you put it in there, so I came on. But this mean a lot to me because where I'm from, in the little village I'm from, I really saw, and I say a village, but they'll get mad and say it's a town. But I really saw, I saw men set that example of what he was reading in the book. When he talked protector and provider, I was taught, man, respect, love, provide, protect, you know. But but you can't be scared to change that role. Either when it comes to certain things, you have to be strong enough. I'm a single dad now. My wife passed away 13 years ago. Uh, my daughter didn't even get to know her mother. She's 14. My son just turned 16. I have an older daughter who was 26, who my wife brought to the marriage, and an older son who's 28 that I brought to the marriage. And with him, I was a single father. I had him at 19. He came to move with me when I was 24 and he was 5 years old. So this black fatherhood thing, black men is not around. We all know that's a lie. And I'm not here to just brag on me. I'm just, I talked about my father and I talked about other men that I saw who was fathers to their kid and was also fathers to young men that did not have fathers. I saw people, what he said when he said the king served the people. So I
Mhm.
literally saw men serve the people. You understand? I literally saw that. And that's where I grew up and that's how I think it should be done now. So I yield the mic. That's all I wanted to say about that.
Brother Bakari. That was Brother Bakari. I said your name right, brother.
Yeah, you said it right.
What's happening, brother? I
Uh,
am.
peace, man. Peace, brother Kofi. Peace to the panel. I appreciate you having me come on. And yeah, I just want to add too. What my thought to them is like the thing that probably contributes a lot to the father process is that like I live in Atlanta and some of my family still here in Atlanta, and some still in Charleston. But it's a prerequisite that our kids go back home. And we from childhood that bond is connected. We send our kids back together and we send them back separately. We send all boys go back, then all girls go back. And then now we still got family in Atlanta, they send all girls up, then they send all boys up. So that dynamic of that close family bond helps instill fatherhood. You know what I'm saying? Because you stay connected and you feel the way if you don't have control of your kids and send your kids back home, because that's a big deal. You know what I'm saying? Like people look at you funny if you ain't sending your kids back. You know what I'm saying? Like they finna check you about that. So but like even when I watched it, we talk about the toit, for lack of a better term. it, some of the dynamic we fight here is that they don't is the men and the women are on the same page. You know what I'm saying? Because like it's different here because you as an African American, sometimes you end up in different dynamics. Like you might end up like you have a strong family bond, but you end up with a female that don't have a strong family bond, or vice versa. So she may be more possessive with her child and not free about letting her child go to bond with other family, and then and vice versa. So like I said, it was very interesting to see the contrast. Yeah, I'll yield the mic and I'll add more input if need be.
All right.
To that, I wanted to say, if
hold on,
y'all
bro.
remember
Voss.
the previous presentation I did, where I
Yeah,
was
brother
talking
Voss.
about our early experiences within America, how fathers were on plantations, but they were never given credit for the child. You wouldn't be recorded as the father of a child. And more often than not, they tried to hide the awareness of a father. And you see that continue, and to build on to the ideology of, is it the Akar? Is that who you was doing, Kofi?
Yeah, the Akar, AKA or
No, I can't hear
BAYAKA.
you.
Yeah, you probably got to pop out and pop back in.
Yeah, Vias, you can hear me?
I can hear
Yeah, we can
Sosa,
hear
but I
you.
can't hear Kofi. Is that
That's weird.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
it says called a car. I know that's crazy. It says called the car though.
okay? Well, to add on to that, we need to remember that due to the fact we was used to create basically a labor force, that often mothers were separated from their children right after birth. As soon as they could wean the child away, she would be put back to work, judging by the age a lot of the times as well. So that may be a continuum that we see. I'm not making an excuse for that type of behavior, but these are the types of situations that have been placed upon us. And you see a continuum, you see a long history of discrediting the Black father in the United States, in many dynamics, whether it's the media, through these books. I know when I was taking a child development class, not only did they discredit Black fathers for just completely being absent, their ideology at the moment is fathers in general are not needed in the house because you can adopt or have same-sex relationships, and the father's predominant role is that of another child. He's there to only tell jokes, that women make enough money that they don't even need a father in the home anymore. So we do have a lot to unpack, and a conversation must be had to carry over into the future healthy in a healthy manner.
Yeah. I was finna say something and I had a brain for it, man. Brother Sutek. Brother Sutek.
Peace, peace.
Peace. I don't want to leave you out, brother.
Nah, man, I'm just sitting back listening, man. It's a good bill. I think it's dope that the brother Bakari is a single father. And Vasa too. We don't see
Yeah,
too
Vasa.
much of that.
That's what I was gonna tell Vasa. I was trying to get Vasa, but Vasa can hear me. But I was gonna let Vasa know that we have another single parent, uh, uh, male on the panel as well. So he's a single father as well, brother Vasa, brother Bakari. But go ahead, brother Sutek.
Yeah, man. I just think that's dope, and I think it's dope that it's men out there that's trying to lift that asterisk off of black men not being fathers, or not being single fathers, or not being there for the children in their community. You know what I mean? Like this brother said, he's taking on kids that's not biologically his. Like today, I think it's a stigma with that, and you some type of lame, or something. But I think that's dope. I think that's very dope, man, and we should have more brothers doing that. And I think the presentation was very dope. Vasa always make you think, man. He always make you think, and that was a good part that you put into with the role reversals, and very interesting. I never heard anything like that.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yeah. Man, I was trying to get some more people in here, man, to kind of build, man, and even some of the sisters to come in here. I know even though we talking about fatherhood, it'd have been good to have get a perspective from those sisters as well. And Brother Vaca, you read in one of your slides the statistic was high for Black African American males in the United States um um being there for the kid. Did you have a slide in there or something in that round? I know I forgot Vasa can't even
I
hear
don't
me.
think he can still hear you.
I have to. I can hear you, Kofi, but I have to go through my phone and listen to it real low up to my ear because I can't hear you.
Yeah, I
But
hear echo.
that article that I put in the chat, and I'll put it in there again before this is over. If you read through it, it states that whether we're in the home or not in the home, that we tend to be more active in the children's life. Um, for example, we outnumber every other race when it comes to feeding children and taking them to school. And particularly something that I don't think anybody would be prepared to hear, we are listed as helping with our children with homework and extra school activities more than any other demographic. So the truth in the deep down inside, I think we all know the truth that, through our eyes as men, there's nothing greater than being a father. There's nothing greater than seeing our children grow. And that was something that I wanted to ask the chat. What do you all see as the number one role as being a father, and what is the number one joy of being a father? Because there's a lot of joys that come into it, and that's what I was talking about when I said we need to have a study on how it affects fathers emotionally throughout a lifetime. Because you have to think about it. We see an infant, we see them go through the toddler stage, through the adolescent stage, teenager stage, become a young adult, the moving out period, the getting married period, the becoming successful period, becoming grandparents. Through all those changes that being a father entails, you're gonna experience different emotions. You're gonna gain more wisdom. Each child is gonna be different. The way you look at your son may be a little bit different than the feelings you get from having a daughter. I have a child that's autistic. I never in a million years would have thought I learned about humanity from my own son, let alone an autistic individual. But I've learned more about humanity in a raw sense by observing him than any other place I've been and any other book I've read. I don't want to get too long with it because I want everybody to have a chance to speak.
Well, I see Sister Kayla just jumped in. Yeah. Yeah, like, can you hear me? No, I can't hear Kofi unless Kofi on mute.
Oh shoot, I'm talking. I do that.
Oh, I get her.
Yeah. Peace, Sister Kayla. What's going on, Sister Kayla? Sister Kayla.
Sister Kayla might be on
Oh,
mute.
sorry, y'all. I was talking and it was on mute. Peace, y'all. Peace to the chat and the panel. Thank you for letting me join. I ain't gonna interrupt though. I was just trying to listen. I came in kind of late, so I didn't get to hear the whole build. So I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that. But I'll wait till everybody finish saying what they say.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and I was trying to find this page. You said 51. I'm somewhere in um 219 because I really wanted to try to get that and what's the acronym of King that you got, Brother Vasa?
No, Kofi, page 150.
It's 150. I'm on 216. But I'm might want to use that page. So you said 150. Okay.
No, I don't have an I don't think I have an acronym for King. I got one for family.
Yeah, I know you had one for family, but I thought you had one for
And
King
I'm
too.
hearing through a delay talking to Kofi because I got to listen to it from my phone. But my nah.
Um,
But if you give me 30 seconds, you know I'll come up with one.
yeah,
That's
but
all I need. All I need is to just sit down and actually look at some letters.
Yeah, I seen that. I don't know if I see that CDC report, but I've seen one similar that uh, I read an article not too long ago, and actually, the black father dynamic is nothing like the narrative they spin in the media. Like when I first read it, I thought I had to check and see if it wasn't if it wasn't just like a black African cycle. I'm like, this is too sweet. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, somebody must be buttering this up, but it wasn't. And it basically said like we were the number one. I'm thinking of everything they said. It was like we were in media like we the last, but the article I read it was like number one above all the ethnic groups. Man, I was shocked.
right, and that's why when he gave from the African, I mean
Yeah,
from the
and
African
and
American,
I don't
they,
know if everybody remembers. I see Kofi talking, so let me be quiet.
no, I was just saying, like that's why I reiterated uh that article or that slide that you was talking about how high we rank. And that's why I was telling you that's what I was gonna be talking about when I did from the African perspective for us, the Aka people, where you have this institution, this fatherhood institution, um, um, in the UK, and how they went around the world and did certain stats, evaluating the fathers in all culture and this specific culture, but but this is just not the only culture, but this is why the Father Direct made what deemed the Aka people uh, the greatest fathers in the world according to the stats that they had and according to the stats according to what this anthropologist that lived amongst them for years, did the stats of their 46%. These men are 40%, 46% more involved in their involved with their kids than any other culture in the world. It didn't just say in Africa, it said in the world. Also, 20% more, they hold their children 20% more than any other culture in the world. So they deem these men um the best father in the world. So you see the stats over there on the continent is high as well. And again, like you say, they do paint this picture, this stigma that um that the fathers, the black fathers in particular, are nowhere to be found in the house home. We deadbeats, we deadbeat fathers. We don't spend time with our children. We don't protect our children. We don't provide for our children. But that's again, that's propaganda. But yeah, go ahead, boss.
Well, to build off of that, because now I can hear you. To all the kings on the panel, I'm going to say keep increasing notable greatness. That's an acronym for King off the Dome. There we go. I gave you one. So keep increasing
Yeah.
notable greatness because we are beyond having the potential to dismantle all these stereotypes out there. Not every black man is thug. Not every black man is hood mentality. And I think that's another part that we have to attack as well is the straddle and defense of that. At some point, we have to put being cool behind us and embrace our natural responsibilities to be the protectors of the neighborhood, and embrace that fathership role because we are the dominant influence across the planet. So we need to embrace that and fully analyze what that means, that we are the dominant influence. So we need to embrace that more than ever and step back up to the plate of greatness. So keep increasing notable greatness to all those who participate in that in their daily lives.
Bars.
That's dope. Yeah. Before we end the show, man, anybody else, man, the Sister Kayla, Sister I am Sosa, Brother Bacardi, y'all got anything, man? Any final words, man, before we end the show?
Yeah,
Let me say real quick. Let me say real quick. We got to start creating our own narrative because the narrative of black men not being fathers and not being there for their kids that didn't come from us. So can't nobody tell me, and you too, if you've been a father or you are currently a father, can't nobody tell you that black men aren't there for their kids. I'm 32. At 21, I got married. I got divorced now, but that's a whole nother subject. I got married at 21. So she had a child. So I was stepfather. I don't look at it as the stepfather thing. Either you're father or you're not. So to me, it was father. So I got up every morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, took this baby to school, picked her up, helped her with her homework, cooked her food, uh, made sure she ate, made sure she washed herself properly, taught her how to clean her room and all that. You know what I mean? So it's nothing. Nobody can tell me about black men not being there for their children because that's somebody else's narrative. That's not ours. So we got to start creating our own narrative and stop allowing others to create it for us. And that's all I wanted to say.
yeah. I'll tell
Major.
you what, I'll just add to it by saying, the touch and the contact. That's very key. Especially for fathers, like with that stereotype. Just always being rough, tough on boys. You're gonna soften them up like that. Like I personally didn't have a father coming up, so I had to imagine in my mind, imagine what a father kind of would be like. You know what I'm saying? And when I was coming up, I got some wisdom from an older woman. She told me like, when you have your son, so son about to be born, she was like, yo, make sure you have contact with him, constantly touch him, rub his head, grab his shoulder, wrestle with him. You know what I'm saying? And I applied that, and I saw like the ones that came from it, and even some of my peers, like it was something that they was used to seeing, and then when they saw it, I could see the change in them. They started applying it. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's very key. You know what I mean? Especially for black males, like, yo, have contact with your kids, man. Touch your kids, man. Even, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't think you can't hug your son. You know what I'm saying? Like, hug him, hold him, put your arms around him, like constantly till it's normal. So when you that old in age, you like I imagine my son like I imagine being old in age and my son put his arms around me. You know what I'm saying? And that brings that fills my heart up. My son and my daughter. So I just want to add that in. Thanks for having me on the panel.
All right, thanks for allowing me on the panel. When he was talking about hugging your child, my son is 16. When they're 16, they go to smelling themselves, think they're a little man. But my son walk up to me now, give me a dap, we hug, I kiss him on his cheek, I love you. He'll do the same thing to me. Because my daughter the same way. My oldest 28-year-old son, sometimes it's a little uncomfortable for him when I try to hug him. I said, boy, I'm your daddy. But that's how I love my kids, and that's how I was taught to be toward my kids by my father. My father showed me, and I'm sorry for King Kosa and anybody else who said they didn't have a father. I was fortunate enough to have mine until he passed away at age 66, and I was 14 years old. But he's absolutely my hero. But if you do the right thing, you know what? You're going to be your kid's hero too. You can't change what he didn't do. You can just do better. That's all I want to say, man. And I thank you for having me. Oh, yeah, and by the way, I'm also a grandparent. But I thank y'all for having me on here.
Major salutes to you. And I didn't grow up with my father as well. And it took me a long time, and that's one of the points I want to get to. It took me a long time to understand a lot of those dynamics that altered us being together. One was military. Another thing was racial tensions, where we originated from. We came from a small town in Oklahoma. But the emphasis I want to put on this is grab a understanding and a true value of time across the board. Value that time that you do have to contact your father. Appreciate the time that you do have to have an influence on your children, nieces, nephews, baby brothers, daughters, in your community. That's if we're going to change the narrative, it's got to start with something, and that start is time itself. So don't hesitate to give that time. You may not have that moment of hugging and embracing each other, but that doesn't mean you can't give the time of teaching a lesson, because all children want to learn. And one of the things they do learn quickly is who gives them time, who values their being. That goes into Kofi's last article. Do you
Yes.
do you value
Go ahead.
existence? And that's one of the most detrimental things that we have to evaluate is the importance of time. You know, look at how many people are upset because they didn't get the time they wanted with a parent or a child. Some children, you know, unfortunately go to the afterlife way too soon. Some of us, as fathers, go to the afterlife way too soon. Mothers as well. You know, we act like there wasn't a history of mothers dying during childbirth, and that may affect the child rearing process in numerous ways. So appreciate the fact that we do have time on this earth to experience building relationships, because that's one of the greatest assets we have is each other. I know society has made it seem like the dollar makes everything move on this planet, but I'm going to say it's our relationships that make everything move on this planet. It's our relationships that we build that make economic systems. It's our relationships that we build that make cultures. It's our relationships that we build that make families and households. Hell, you got to have a relationship to even produce a child. So value that time and value the relationships that you have, and value the fact that you have the time to make the greatest relationship you can.
Yeah. And before we go, man, I'm gonna share my screen real quick because hold on, let me shoot. Let me share my screen. Hold on 1 second. And YouTube done start doing something. I mean, yeah, YouTube doing something different here, man. Let me share my screen. Uh, uh present to everyone. Um, let me go here. He mentioned acknowledging someone's being. Hold on, let me go back. This is I put out a new article today. I'm on my website right now. This is please support me on this. I'm starting to write journals. I mean articles. This Kofi Paisai written composition. Kofi Paisai www.kofipaisai written compositions.word.press. This is the I only have 3 up here right now, but I'm constantly working on articles. Now I've been building up both the my platform as well as the group platform that I'm also involved in, the Mossy Warrior Clan. And now I want to try, and been doing presentations. I'm well equipped with putting together information, comparing information, contrasting information, analyzing information. I want to start doing, start writing more articles. So this is the new article that I did. Let me click onto it. It's called, if you didn't know, it's called Greeting Acknowledging Someone's Being. The way you acknowledge someone's existence. And this is a great article. I hope when people get a chance to to read the article as well as my article. I got does the conscious community have good character? What it, and blase something else, and what is the role of an elder? Uh, and what is an elder? So please support me. Go read these articles. Took some time to put these articles together. Uh, got a great brother who's helping me edit these articles, brother Vasa Nicolo, who's on the panel. After I get through with it, I send it to he's my editor, so he edited because I'm country. So however I talk and how I think, that's how I put it on paper. So so he helps me out with that, man. So I appreciate that, brother, man, for taking the time out after I get through writing these articles, that he's able to go in there and read them and see some of my grammatical errors and some of my misspellings and so forth. So I appreciate that. So yeah, I dropped this today. Uh, so please go and check out that article as well as the other two articles. I'll be dropping another article next week. Who was the Shimshu Haru, and who was the Shimshu Haru and their first contribution together. It'll be a little lengthy, but I think you enjoy that presentation as well as those articles as well as those other articles that I have out, man. That's all I have, man. I appreciate y'all for tuning in to Kofi Paisa TV, the channel that takes
Hey,
the black man
Kofi, real
to the
quick.
corner. Go ahead.
Um, while we on fatherhood, I almost forgot. I've been putting some information or uploading some videos to my channel. One video that I did upload is of this brother. He has a YouTube channel. It's called Belief in Fatherhood. And he just makes all types of videos about being a black father. He has a black family. So I'm gonna drop the link in the chat. It's gonna be linked to my video. So y'all gotta go through me to get to his channel. But the link will
Give
be
him the name of your channel, Sute. You want to name your channel, man, because we gonna try to build your channel up too. What? Give him the name of your
it's the
channel.
same. It's the same name. Sutek Akande Iyanu Oluwa. So it's
Okay.
the same name. I dropped the link for that too. But I dropped the link for that video one more time in the chat. Y'all check him out. This brother is a great brother. He makes videos about being a black father. I've never seen nobody else on YouTube do this. So check him out.
No doubt.
And I'm humbled by what Kofi said. I won't get too long with it again, but Kofi don't need my help with them papers, man. He got it together. It's like I told him the other night. He on his way to being the redhead John Henry Clark. But one thing I wanted to add before we do close out about changing the narrative, I want y'all to really, really think about this, because we did see, a change in the culture over the past 20, 30 years. When Cosby was on TV and that impact of seeing a strong family, an educated family, you had more black kids going to college and black institutions of learning than any other time frame. Sociologists have recently put out a study on that. So when it comes to changing that narrative, think about how important that is in your day-to-day life. And to go back to Kofi's article again, how you greet each other, how you interact amongst each other. So I won't get too long with it and spark another conversation. But I did have to throw that out. Kofi, you on mute?
I do it every time. But appreciate everybody for tuning in. Please go back if you missed it. Please go back in the archives and check it out. We did before we had a discussion. We did uh, I came from an African perspective. You know that's me. I'm always gonna come from an African perspective. So I came from an African perspective dealing with fatherhood, and Brother Vasa came with the perspective of the African American uh, perspective. So so go back and check out that. Then we came and did the discussion and had the uh, good brothers and sisters to come on to the panel. But we'll be back Sunday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on the Mossy Warrior Clan channel. I'll be doing a presentation on the Mossy Warrior Clan channel, the Makala, the oldest game board in Africa. But there's many names. There's over 300 some different names. I think that'll be an interesting presentation. So I'll be doing that presentation at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on the Mossy Warrior Clan channel tomorrow. And then we'll come back 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on Kofi Paisa TV. Um, and we'll be doing Brother Sutek. Sutek got a powerful presentation on the Cora shells. So the Cora shells in Africa. So tune back in tomorrow. Those that want to jump on the panel tomorrow, if you're more than welcome to come jump on the panel, you're more than welcome to build with us. We like interacting. We trying to interact because we hadn't been doing this a lot, so we trying to do more on Kofi Side TV as well as the Moxley Warrior Clan. We're trying to interact more with our viewers, make them feel involved, and we want to hear what y'all have to say as well. So we'll see y'all again next time. I want to say Shimim Hotep. Shimim Hotep just means support and peace. And we'll see y'all tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time and 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, man. And Black African Power, family. We out.